So, thank you to everybody who chose to be with us, to be part of this spiritual community today. We know you have many choices in this virtual world, and we're delighted you chose to spend your morning here with us. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. Let's make it a good year, shall we? Every January, many Science of Mind centers revisit the first four chapters of the Science of Mind text because these contain the basic teachings of the philosophy. The first four chapters are the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. The spiritual practices that are mirrored in these chapters are meditation, how we have our own personal experience of the divine, visioning, how we can know more of the divine nature and our divine nature than we presently know of, affirmations, how we claim the good we can imagine, and then spiritual mind treatment, which I think of as our big guns, how we can reacquaint ourselves with some greater desired good. We're going to explore these four ideas on Wednesday evenings as well. I'm going to try something new, which is combining the January basics class with the opening sessions of foundations. So if you want a deeper idea, a deeper experience of these four practices, and you're not sure you want to sign up for foundations, please join us Wednesday night at 5:30, between 5:30 and 7:30. And then if you decide you like it and you want to stay for foundations, that's cool too. So I want to start with a piece from Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind, page 51, that always makes me laugh and is so desperately true. One of the great difficulties in this new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth. And then from the final conclusion on the last page of the textbook, not really, but it's before the meditations and it's officially the last page, page 422. What the world needs is spiritual conviction, followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than have them repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. But the practice of truth is personal to each, and in the long run, no one can live our lives for us. To each is given what they need, and the gifts of heaven come alike to all. How we shall use these gifts is all that matters. To hold one thought steadfastly to the constructive, to that which endures, to the truth, may not be easy in a rapidly changing world. But to the one who makes the attempt, much is guaranteed. The essence of spiritual mind healing and of all true religious philosophy is an inner realization of the presence of perfection within and around about. What does this mean? What does this mean in plain language? We're just spouting words, some kind of mental gymnastics, until we have an experience of the divine nature. So, how do we have an experience? We can pretend, we can make it fancy and special and some kind of mystical thing. And I think it can be that, but I don't think it's only that. Last week, I closed with one of my favorite poems from Billy Collins, The Night House. I won't read the whole thing again. You can look it up, but I will repeat several of the closing stanzas. I think they represent some of the ways we can have an experience of the divine presence. Listen to the soft bells of sleep. Sit at the kitchen table and heat some milk in a pan. Light a cigarette and open a book on engineering. Straddle the ridge of the house, singing a song about the wildness of the sea until the first rip of pink appears in the sky. Put down the metal tongs, the needle, or the pen, and stare into the distance. Those are not typically ways we think of having an experience of the divine, and yet they are. And also, someone sitting very quietly on their porch shelling peas, looking out at nothing in particular, or watching the sunset or sunrise from the top of Tumamoc Hill, or a hunter up in a tree stand, forgetting they're there to hunt, just appreciating the stillness of the morning. Hikers intent on noticing nature. Stargazers who get so awestruck watching the night sky they're speechless. Photographers, painters, artists, so completely intent on their subject matter that they lose track of everything. Those people, those artists, those creatives aren't generally thinking about using their technique or even what they're looking at. They're completely present in the moment. And honestly, anytime we get completely engrossed in an activity or a practice, it could be something as simple as peeling a tangerine if we're paying attention. That can become a moment of transcendence, a moment of experiencing that divine presence. I remember one year, a couple of years back now, we did a mindfulness meditation evening, and I handed out tangerines to everybody, and I said, "Now don't peel it yet." And by the time I said that, somebody had already started. I said, "But notice what it looks like. Notice what it smells like. Notice what it feels like. Have an experience of this tangerine before you even open it." And we probably spent 5 minutes peeling the tangerine before we finally got around to tasting it. Because it's seeking and searching and desiring to have that experience of presence, that experience of paying entirely attention to our bodies here and now. So I've been working my way through Krishnamurti's Freedom from the Known, which is a seriously heavy read, and it's really good. One of the snippets from his writings, it's only when we see without any preconception, any image, that we are able to be in contact, in direct contact with anything in life. A whole bunch of years ago, I was taking an art class, and the teacher said, if you are drawing a tree from what you think a tree looks like, you're going to miss it. So I need you to actually pay attention to what you're seeing. And so she had us turn the piece of paper with the picture we were copying upside down so that we would have to pay attention to the lines and the shapes and the shading and the detail. And my picture of a tree actually got better because I wasn't drawing the picture in my head. I was in direct contact with that image on that piece of paper. So from the Upanishads, whoever knows God, who is without beginning and without end, who within this impervious world is a creator of the universe, who is of infinite form, the one penetrator of the universe, becomes liberated of all bonds. When we actually have that relationship with God, with the divine, however we see that, we loose ourselves from all of the old stories, from all the old beliefs that we have. And we have to have that experience in order for that to happen. And from the Tao Te Ching, thus it is that the Tao produces all things, nourishes them, brings them to their full growth, nurses them, matures them, maintains them, and overspreads them. We have this imaginary story about the mystics as special people somehow, better than the rest of us, free from the concerns of earthly life. Holmes is very clear in chapter 20 of the Science of Mind text, page 327, paragraphs 1 and 2. A mystic is not a mysterious person, but one who has a deep inner sense of life and of their unity with the whole. There's nothing mysterious in the truth, so far as it is understood, but all things seem mysterious until we understand them. A mystic is one who intuitively perceives truth and without mental process arrives at spiritual realization. Anyone who chooses to slow down and pay attention to the particulars of their lives, not in an obsessive compulsive way, or trying to control it or manage it, but simply being present to it, can have a mystical experience, and it can happen a dozen times a day. Journaling is a good practice for this, because to journal fruitfully and productively, we have to notice what's going on in front of our eyes and within ourselves. We have an 8-week survey class on meditation that we usually offer once a year, which explores many of the avenues of potential meditation practice. Some of them are recognizable as meditation, sitting quietly or contemplation, or mindful movement, forms like Qigong or Tai Chi or yoga. I Googled the best mindfulness teachers yesterday just to see what was up, and was given a list of 16 of them. Some of the names you'll recognize: Pema Chodron, Deepak Chopra, Thich Nhat Hanh, Ram Dass, Jack Kornfield, John Kabat-Zinn, Sharon Salzberg, and I would add Tara Brach to that mix. What's up with all these mindfulness teachers? The idea of the practice of mindfulness is something that we Westerners at least can theoretically grasp. It gives our busy minds something to do so that we can become internally still and receptive, and it doesn't demand 20 years of study and instruction and practice to get started. Other meditative practices that don't look like what we think they should: drawing, chanting, drumming, kirtan, making music, coloring, creating mandalas. It could be folding cranes. It could be really, truly playing with children or walking a labyrinth. Anything done with the intention of being present in the moment and not escaping our lives or living in our future or our past is a meditative practice. And it's a way of connecting with that divine that lives in, through, around us. There's a chapter in John Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, entitled Cleaning the Stove While Listening to Bobby McFerrin. That's pushing it for me, because I'm not sure I could pay full attention to cleaning the stove if I was listening to Bobby McFerrin. He's just too much fun. We make this practicing the presence to be something esoteric and special. What if it's not? What if it's not any more complicated than just paying attention? Not that I'm saying that paying attention is easy, because we swim in a sea of perpetual distraction, and it's super easy to live distracted. We have these phone things that call our attention and make us pay attention to them, right? It can be just as simple as getting off the distraction merry-go-round. Every week, our Sunday morning host says, and Holly said it this morning, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is our life now. And every week, we say as our closing affirmation together, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. and that life is my life now. What if we decided to actually pay attention to what these affirmations mean to each of us and see and experience and understand our lives as the perfect expressions of the divine already as each of us? So I want to close with a little short poem from Emily Dickinson. She wrote a lot of her poems about her relationship with the divine. To her, the divine was not a distant judgmental deity in the sky with a black book keeping track. He or it was an active presence in her life, intimately familiar to her, just as familiar as nature itself. Her poem, Some Keep the Sabbath by Going to Church. Some keep the Sabbath by going to church. I keep it staying home, with a bobolink for a chorister and an orchard for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in costume. I just wear my wings. Instead of tolling the bell for church, our little sexton sings. God preaches, a noted clergyman, and the sermon is never long. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along. So I'd like to invite you to consider your relationship, your present relationship with that divine presence and nourish it. And I'm going to repeat this morning's spiritual thought from Basic Ideas of the Science of Mind, because it's worth repeating. If there is an understanding of God that meets your daily needs in a world of practical affairs, you want it. If there's some system of reasoning which conforms to your keenest intellectual rationalization and scientific knowledge, it is of interest to you. If you can find something that satisfies that deep inner hunger, which lies at the heart of all, whether they actually ever acknowledge it or not, you are just as eager as everyone else to find that satisfaction. You have practical daily needs that must be met, intellectual demands which seek rational fulfillment, and sincere spiritual longings that have to be fulfilled. This is true of all persons. You are no exception. So consider your relationship with the divine. Explore it, understand it, expand it if you wish. Do that. Bless yourself and bless us all. Thank you. So now I'm going to move right into the morning meditation, the morning spiritual mind treatment. And we speak affirmatively, we speak positively around here. So consider what you want to reinforce, what you want to have more of in your life. And hold that in your mind while I speak the words. Infinite radiant presence that lives as me, lives as everyone. That divine love and perfect peace and poise and power and harmony expresses through life, expresses through me, expresses through each beloved, each one already that divine spark, each one already enabled and empowered to experience and express every bit of their whole and holy essence that they choose. I celebrate this knowing, I celebrate this remembrance, I celebrate this ability to practice. And I know in the practice, we each improve. And in the experience, we each have more and more of an experience of that love and that light and that harmony and peace. that is the divine showing up as us. So I celebrate this day. I celebrate this gathering. I celebrate this opportunity to be and see and know and explore and experience. And I know it is extraordinarily fabulous. And I take a breath and I relax into these words, knowing there's no task or chore or strenuous effort involved. It's just love unfolding. And I relax into this great good and I let it be. And so it is.